On the night of December 7th, at 11 o'clock, Li Weiwei will always remember this day in her life. Hungry in the middle of the night, she playfully told Xiao Jiaqing that she wanted to eat instant noodles. Xiao Jiaqing affectionately patted her head and said, "Wait, I'll go downstairs and buy it for you." In December, Suzhou was filled with a chilly air. He got up, put on a down jacket, and went out. He had never said no to her. As Li Weiwei indulged in such tenderness, she noticed that Xiao Jiaqing's phone was left at home. Holding the phone, she prepared to go out to catch up with Xiao Jiaqing. There was never cash in Xiao Jiaqing's pockets. WeChat kept receiving new messages. Li Weiwei subconsciously took a glance and froze. In the group chat messages, someone said, "Really envy Xiao Jiaqing, holding a golden baby, a worry-free life forever." Others echoed, "With Xiao Jiaqing's abilities, marrying into the Li family's industry, the future is limitless. We should follow and share the glory." Curious, Li Weiwei scrolled up the group messages. If it was just teasing, Li Weiwei could accept it. But as she read on, her face turned pale, hands trembling, as if the whole world was spinning. Li Weiwei's love collapsed overnight. At that moment, there were 18 days left before she and Xiao Jiaqing would register their marriage. Perhaps even the heavens couldn't bear it and couldn't help but reveal the truth to her. The better Xiao Jiaqing treated her, the more cruel the truth became. Before this, Li Weiwei had experienced scumbag men. But Xiao Jiaqing was different. He was the one who said, "You have money because of your dad, I have money because of myself. So, Li Weiwei, I'm much more powerful than you." He was the one who said, "Your dad's money is hard-earned, how to divide it in the future is your dad's business. You don't need to compete with your brother. Harmony is the most important in a family." He was her fiancé, the one she wanted to spend the rest of her life with. Li Weiwei's heart felt like it was blocked. She took a deep breath, trying to calm her heart. Then, she slid the screen and deleted the chat records. She had to stay calm, not to alert the snake in the grass. As she returned home and put the phone back in its place, Xiao Jiaqing came back. He smiled and said, "Look at my memory, only realized I forgot my phone when paying the bill. Wait for me, I'll go down and buy it." If she hadn't seen the chat records, it would have been better. At this moment, looking at the Xiao Jiaqing in front of her, she felt an unprecedented sense of strangeness. Li Weiwei forced a faint smile, grabbed him, and said, "Forget it, I don't seem to be hungry anymore, it's a good time to lose weight." Xiao Jiaqing touched her head and said, "Are you sure? It wouldn't be good if you starve my little baby at home." Listening, Li Weiwei really wanted to cry. So what is the truth? In fact, the encounter at the coffee shop was not a coincidence at all. Before that, there was a time when Li Weiwei and her friends were dining at a Japanese restaurant, and Xiao Jiaqing happened to be sitting at the next table. After casually overhearing Li Weiwei's conversation with her friends, he guessed that Li Weiwei was single and probably well off. So, when Li Weiwei left, he followed her to the garage, noted down her license plate number, and then entrusted a friend to investigate Li Weiwei. And that friend was also in that WeChat group. The friend's exact words were, "Remember me when you get rich. If it weren't for me helping you check, you wouldn't have been able to charm this girl." So, the so-called chance encounter at the coffee shop was a carefully planned act by Xiao Jiaqing after tracking Li Weiwei for several days. In other words, he knew from the beginning that she was the daughter of a wealthy family. Was it that his acting skills were so good that Li Weiwei couldn't see any flaws? Or was Li Weiwei too naive to see through his tricks? Li Weiwei wanted to ask for clarification, but she restrained herself. Late at night, the sound of Xiao Jiaqing's steady breathing filled the air. Li Weiwei was filled with fear and couldn't sleep all night. For more than a year, she had been Xiao Jiaqing's treasure. Li Weiwei liked to be forgetful, and every time she went on a business trip, Xiao Jiaqing would specifically go to her house to help her pack. Her mother said, "You're spoiling Weiwei like this." Xiao Jiaqing replied, "It's okay, I'm prepared to spoil her for a lifetime." At such moments, Li Weiwei felt like her heart was filled with honey. And when she was sad and upset, he always appeared at the first moment. She couldn't see through his flattery, in his eyes, there was clearly love. Once, Li Weiwei was hit by an electric bike while walking on the road. Actually, it wasn't a big deal, but Xiao Jiaqing rushed over from a long distance, took her to the hospital, and had her undergo a full-body examination before he could relax. Then he let her rest at home, and every meal of the day was personally delivered by him. He even signed her up for rehabilitation classes. The worried expressions in his eyes couldn't deceive anyone. Were all these acts fake? On her mother's birthday, Xiao Jiaqing was busy preparing gifts, decorating the hotel, and serving tea and pouring wine for everyone. He behaved so gracefully that Li Weiwei gained a lot of face. Even a few days ago, Li Weiwei accidentally found Xiao Jiaqing's engagement ring in a drawer. It was her size, just right. It should have been measured by Xiao Jiaqing while she was sleeping. She was waiting for his proposal. So, how could Li Weiwei believe that all of this was fake? How could she believe that what she thought was true love was just a well-thought-out, deceiving scheme? The next morning, when Xiao Jiaqing woke up, he gently kissed Li Weiwei's face. He said so tenderly, "You sleep a bit more, I'll go make breakfast for you." Li Weiwei cherished this kind of tenderness, to the extent that she hesitated to reveal the truth. She wanted to live in this dream, unwilling to admit that Xiao Jiaqing was acting. After finishing breakfast, Xiao Jiaqing drove Li Weiwei to the company, then went to work alone. Getting out of the car, as usual, Xiao Jiaqing patted her head and said, "Be good, I'll pick you up after work." Li Weiwei turned around, tears streaming down her face. Before this, blinded by love, she stopped her dad when he suggested investigating Xiao Jiaqing. How could they investigate him? It would be an insult to their love. However, reality was cruel. The results were found on the same day. Xiao Jiaqing's so-called company had long been operating abnormally, actually reduced to an empty shell. Li Weiwei couldn't believe it. Just a few months ago, Xiao Jiaqing was still raising funds for a project. Her dad said those investments were all fake. It was his negligence not to carefully examine the contracts. Li Weiwei stood there, truly feeling the terrifying side of human nature. Compared to the blatant desires and motives of her ex-boyfriend Jiang Yangming, Xiao Jiaqing was truly a step ahead in skill. She lost miserably. During that time, Xiao Jiaqing asked her to arrange a meeting with her dad, saying he had a good project to discuss with him. Indeed, Xiao Jiaqing went to meet Li Weiwei's dad with project proposals and feasibility plans. 2 thick volumes, but her dad was too busy to read them in detail. So, when Xiao Jiaqing said, "Uncle, could you lend some money to invest in this project? I'll give you an IOU, and I'll pay you back with interest once there's a profit," Li Weiwei stood by and agreed for him. Xiao Jiaqing said, "I'll write an IOU." Li Weiwei replied, "Why bother with an IOU? My dad isn't short of this amount of money." Li Weiwei's dad gave his daughter face, probably feeling indebted to her after all these years. Later, Xiao Jiaqing, citing project expansion, borrowed 500,000. Not long after, Xiao Jiaqing returned 200,000 to Li Weiwei's dad, claiming it was interest earned from the investment. This way, Li Weiwei's dad believed him. Later, Xiao Jiaqing received 850,000, plus Li Weiwei's 50,000 investment, totaling around 1.5 million. According to the investigation, shortly after receiving this money, Xiao Jiaqing's mom acquired a property under her name, worth over 2 million. In other words, there was no investment at all, he used the money to buy a house. Li Weiwei's heart felt like it was stabbed. All she wanted was a pure love. Why was it so difficult? Ultimately, a face-to-face confrontation was necessary. Li Weiwei felt a bit overwhelmed. She didn't know how to face someone like Xiao Jiaqing. She had considered that he might craftily argue that it was just a joke. Or he might repent and say that it started that way, but later on, he genuinely fell in love with her. Regardless of his cunning defense or repentance, she might be inclined to soften her stance. However, what Li Weiwei didn't anticipate was that Xiao Jiaqing seemed so calm. He calmly questioned, "Are you going to marry or not? You're just speculating, do you have any evidence?" If it weren't for friends and Xiao Tong supporting Li Weiwei, she might not have been able to stand. Her legs went weak, she didn't know what in the world was real anymore. Xiao Tong was particularly furious. She stepped forward and slapped Xiao Jiaqing, saying, "How can you be so shameless?" Xiao Jiaqing wasn't angered, he sneered and said, "Everything is within my plan, just didn't expect that even plans can be thwarted by unforeseen events." The trembling voice in which Li Weiwei spoke indicated her fear. She asked him, "Did you use the investment money to buy a house for your mom?" A slight smile appeared on Xiao Jiaqing's lips as he replied, "Your family isn't short of this amount of money." A friend was so angry that she wanted to hit Xiao Jiaqing. Xiao Jiaqing said, "Li Weiwei, you'll never understand how difficult it is for children from ordinary families to succeed. You were born in Rome, so you can't comprehend this kind of hardship." Li Weiwei wanted to ask him, "Is having money also a mistake?" Her dad's money was earned step by step from scratch. Did her family deserve to be manipulated just because they had money? However, she couldn't bring herself to ask. This was the person she had originally wanted to hold in her hands and love for a lifetime. If she questioned him, he would probably say even more hurtful things to break her down. She was unwilling to admit that the one she loved was less than human. Later, Li Weiwei's brother arrived. Xiao Jiaqing provocatively said to her brother, "Your whole family is a bunch of fools." If Weiwei hadn't seen the chat records, once the marriage was done, deceive the old man, transfer the assets, and your family's business would have taken on the name Xiao. Anyway, the old man doesn't have many years left. Anyone hearing this would feel the urge to punch someone. He successfully infuriated Li Weiwei's brother, who ended up hitting him. Even more shamelessly, when her brother hit Xiao Jiaqing, he didn't retaliate because Xiao Jiaqing knew there were surveillance cameras. Then he reported to the police for intentional injury. Her brother was arrested, and Xiao Jiaqing said, "We can settle this, just compensate me." As the heir to the family, her dad naturally couldn't let him have a stain on his record. So, when Xiao Jiaqing proposed 250,000, her dad agreed. In total, it amounted to over 2 million. The pre-booked New Zealand pre-wedding photo shoot, the booked hotel, all cancelled. The money, too, came from Li Weiwei's family. It's hard to comprehend the hatred in Li Weiwei's heart. The most heartbreaking part was that her once outstanding and proud brother was detained in the police station for 10 days. Li Weiwei lost 10 kilograms, walking like a lifeless body every day, only to be sent home by friends when she blacked out. The process of accepting the truth was particularly agonizing. Everyone around her said it's better to find out early than late. Luckily the marriage hadn't happened yet. She understood the logic, but the process was too difficult. Li Weiwei became a bit depressed. Dad and her brother made Li Weiwei change all her contact information and her residence. They would have no more contact with Xiao Jiaqing. However, deep down, Li Weiwei really wanted to ask Xiao Jiaqing, did he ever truly love her? Li Weiwei also gradually recalled later on. After getting drunk, Xiao Jiaqing had said more than once, "Weiwei, I really wish I could have met you in a different way. I really want to love you from the beginning." At that time, Li Weiwei couldn't understand the meaning behind his words, but now she does. In those moments, did he regret starting this love with manipulation? Did those moments indicate that he had loved her? Recalling it now is truly heart-wrenching. She showed him the best of love, only for him to say in the end that it was just a scheme. Perhaps there was love, but calculation outweighed love. Li Weiwei no longer dared to believe in love. When guys from the same circle show concern for her, she would say, "Do you just want to sleep with me because you're rich?" They would reply, "I'll wait for you. I'll accompany you to get through this." Li Weiwei wouldn't believe it. If guys with more modest means tried to comfort her, she would say, "Aren't you eyeing my dad's money? Get lost, roll as far away as Xiao Jiaqing did." After a physically and emotionally draining love, men's care turned out to have hidden motives. Li Weiwei suffered severe insomnia. Only alcohol could put her to sleep. She felt like she was covered in thorns, ready to strike anyone. Sometimes Li Weiwei would think, if that night she wasn't hungry for instant noodles and Xiao Jiaqing wasn't always at her beck and call, at this moment, she might already be Mrs. Xiao. She wanted to be Mrs. Xiao, but in 2020, she was still Miss Li. That man, Xiao Jiaqing, after showing her heaven, directly threw her into hell. It's a bit cruel, but it can only be this way. In the world of the wealthy, a pure love is this hard to find. Li Weiwei thought she had found it, only to realize she had lost. From now on, it will take a lot of love and time to be reborn.